At all. You just keep going.
Oh, God. Okay. Today's guest is Jeff Atwood with Epoch Environmental.
Yes.
And he is going to tell us his story and what he learned about biorecovery and restoration.
So, first of all, good morning. Thank you for having me in.
Yeah.
Great place. So my story started, my previous career was in advertising. I was an art director and graphic designer in New York. And when we moved to the South, I could not find a good fit. The world was going all digital, and I didn't have that expertise. My expertise was in the look and feel. And so I needed to kind of recreate myself. And my wife is a labor and delivery nurse for the last 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And so she says, why don't you go work in healthcare? And I said, healthcare? I said, no, I get queasy. I get sick going into the hospital. I feel like I'm going to pass out, nauseous, blood and vomit and all that. And she goes, why don't you look at radiology? That's an opportunity. You're not going to deal with that as much. And I said, oh, okay. So I enrolled at Chattahoochee Tech, which is North Metro Tech back at the time. That was 06, June of 06. And so the program was competitive, but I learned that I really enjoyed biology. In fact, the school actually hired me to be the lab assistant.
Wow.
So I got to walk around in the cool white lab jacket, which was fun, and cleaned up all the dead cat cadavers that, we were dissecting and helped the other students study. So, but as I got into radiology, right from the get-go, they put us into the hospital setting.
Right.
So I spent a lot of time, in the Wellstar system, both at Kennestone and at Paulding, some of the other smaller satellites. And, immediately, I think my first internship was in the ER.
Oh, wow.
And in the OR. And I think the first call that I had in the ER in Kennestone was a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Oh, no.
And so we had to respond to that. And I have vivid memories of that still. And it was, pretty horrific. But I guess all this to say that little by little my squeamishness started to subside, and I don't know, it was like a little switch went off in my brain that says, okay, this is more interesting than it is gross, And so I did that for a number of years. I worked in orthopedics. I worked a lot with kids. They cross-trained me in cast installation, stitch removal, things like that. So I kind of walked behind the orthopedic surgeon,
right,
whenever you'd see people. And so, I had that continuing flow of health care,
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to leave. The culture was just not quite to my liking. And, there's a saying in healthcare that the seasoned eat their young. And you will see that a lot of the newer doctors and the nurses are kind of maybe a little abused,
right,
by some of the older people. But and that's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
But so I left, and a friend of mine, he said, hey, I've been doing carpet cleaning and a little bit of drying out of damaged structures, and I'd like to start a restoration company. He says, but I'm scared to go alone. Would you like to partner with me? So we partnered up. We created a company called Titan Brothers, and we did a lot of work. We even went to work for 6 months down in Panama City.
Oh, wow.
When Hurricane Michael came through, and that I'll never forget that the devastation. It was a whole new angle to emergency response.
Right.
So we did that for a while, but we ended up kind of going our separate ways, and so I started Epoch, and even though water damage and mold remediation is probably 2/3 of our business, I was able to kind of bring in the biorecovery, and what biorecovery means is going into a structure where something biological that could be infectious has happened.
Yeah.
A death. There's blood on the floor. There could be feces. That could, and it could be from humans. It could be from animals. Anything that carries bloodborne pathogens that could make people sick. And I learned that some of the processes that I knew of from working in healthcare, I could use also in restoration. And so that's kind of where the crime scene cleanup side of my business emerged from. A lot of my work comes through law enforcement agencies, coroners. A good bit comes from coroner relationships. I've also, ironically so, I've also cleaned up 3 meth labs.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, that is insane.
You know, you'll see a lot of the personality types that are kind of, the hoarder type personalities.
Yeah.
But also into the drugs. And you'll see it all kind of intermingle in some of these properties. So keeping a property clean or restoring its viability to humans coming in is kind of the core. Restoration is the buzzword of, people like me, like your surf pros, of the world. But I like to think of us as just a slightly bit different because 3 of my team members all come from healthcare.
Right.
And so for me, when I meet a client, it's they're almost like my patient.
Okay.
I kind of have that mindset. And so I'm very, very concerned about making sure that whatever I do results in a very safe environment. And so, you talk about training. We had a little conversation about, how do you get into this, and the training behind it is, well, as I said, the degree in science helped, but also there's a lot of certification that you can get through OSHA that will, kind of keep you on top of things and remind you to keep certain protocols, kind of a lot of the protocols that were employed during COVID, with the PPE and, and the masks. That's kind of our normal way of life.
Yeah,
and I know people hate masks, but, when we're working in our environment, if I'm breathing in mold, I don't want to be sick. Or if I'm in a contaminated area or hazmat situation, I need to really make sure that, we're protected because, ironically so, I'm allergic to mold.
Oh, no.
I get really sick. I get bronchitis like once a year.
Oh, my goodness.
So I have to really be careful.
Yeah, taking a chance going into being mold remediation and allergic to mold.
Exactly. But, the trauma cleanup is a little more interesting to talk about. Like I said, there are several companies out there that do mold remediation, and I would certainly like to continue that relationship, in the communities with Cobb and Paulding or whoever's listening. But part of what we do is we have the capability of testing sites and facilities, and I send it to a lab. The lab gives us results on the air quality, like you mentioned. When your child was sick, the air quality was an issue.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so we need to know what the baseline looks like.
Okay.
So if we have a problem, now we know that there's something going on that's causing these things to become aerosoled.
Right.
Microscopically floating around. You might not even see it.
Yeah, like the little mold spores and stuff.
Mold spores or pathogens from blood or whatever, or feces. All those things we're breathing in, we might not even realize it. And so it can make you sick. So, we have to have a baseline to know when we start. And then we do it again, after we're done to make sure that, we're clean. And there's results. There's something that can be proven.
Yeah.
So I kind of approach each project with a lot of photo documentation.
Okay.
Much of what we do is paid for through insurance claims, like homeowners claims.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that everyone is comfortable, both my client and also the insurance company that's paying the bill, that, when we submit our invoice, or, our final report, from a high level perspective, they can look in and say, okay, this happened in this room, and they can see the progression through the property, through the structure. And what was done, what was the response, what's the monitoring on the response. For example, if there's a water damage, they might come in and put dehumidifiers, right?
Yep.
Right, to dry it out.
That's what they did to me.
Yeah. So what that's doing is that's changing the atmosphere in the room. It's pulling moisture out.
Oh yeah.
And it's spitting it out a little tube. And so it's changing the humidity and the grains per pound is one of our buzzwords.
Okay.
So we're monitoring all that and we're charting it. We're keeping track. It's called psychometrics. And I use a little cool thermographic FLIR camera, and it looks really cool. You could point it to the wall and you could see it would be blue or purple and it would show moisture.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's pretty cool.
But, some of the other tools that we use are like little probes that probe into the sheetrock or the flooring, and it gives you a readout of moisture. Like your standard baseline might be 9%, but that might be 20% or more, and now you know oh,
Wow.
there's a leak, something has happened somewhere.
Yeah.
So it gives you a point of where to start, where to work.
Yeah, that's
Some
pretty
cases
cool.
you might have to cut out things either for biorecovery or for water damage or mold. There's a lot of similarities in it. So, but yeah, it's an interesting world. One of the challenges that I have, ironically, not really ironically, but you would think that the clinical side of cleaning up a crime scene or a trauma cleanup is the challenge, but for me, it's the grief that the people are experiencing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very empathetic, and it doesn't take much to get me teary-eyed, and dealing
Yeah.
with people. I really feel bad for them. Just last month, I did 3 suicides.
Oh, man.
And they were all young men from 15 up to like 25.
Oh,
So
that is
there's an
crazy.
epidemic of depression, and it's sad, and it's kind of a flag, if you will, to check in on people, make
Right.
sure they're doing okay, and just because they're not exhibiting signs, you don't always know. So
Yeah.
I've become an advocate for counteracting suicide.
Yeah.
We've all had bad moments in our life that cause us to really
Right.
feel bad and be depressed, and then with COVID, it got worse.
Oh, COVID definitely made things a lot worse
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
So, I'm very sensitive to that, but that's the biggest challenge for me. I was on a call down in Macon, and it was a military family, and the woman she just had a child, and she suffered from postpartum depression, really, really bad. And so, being a military family, they had her checked into the VA. She was there a week, and when she got out, she came home, went into her shower, pulled out a gun, and shot herself in the head in the shower.
Oh, my goodness.
And beautiful woman, had everything going for her, beautiful child, nice husband. I mean, you know all the details of people's lives, but it just struck me. I mean, they had beautiful property. There was some sort of affluence in the family. So it seemed like everything was going for her, but she saw the need to take that step. And what was challenging is I had started to work. I'm in my biohazard suit. I'm working. I got my chemicals out. It's late at night. I'm far away from home down in Macon.
Yeah.
And the mother arrives.
Oh.
And she had been out of town, so she comes on the site, and she's demanding. The people that are there, they're trying, don't go back there, don't go back there. And she's like, I'm okay. I'm an ER nurse. I can handle it. And what she saw was something nobody should ever see of a loved one.
Right.
And so, there was an emotional reaction from her, and I'm in my biohazard suit, and she's all over me. I'm like, lady, you're getting contaminated, but it made a huge impact on me. And
Yeah.
it took me about half an hour to kind of recalibrate to
Right.
get back to what I had to get done.
Yeah.
So I learned, anything else that happens like that, I'll probably just excuse myself and let them do whatever they need to do. It's not my job to police, whatever they need to do or not
Yeah.
do. As long as they're warned that, this area is contaminated, you could be exposing yourself. But the emotional side of that, I'm just going to step back and,
Yeah, I can imagine that
family
would
deal
be
with it.
difficult to have to deal with, trying to
Yeah.
get the job done and then have family come in and
get y'all teary-eyed. You're in your biohazard suit.
unable
with
to
your
focus
face.
now.
I know. It's
My goodness. So I know you said you were with your friend and you guys did restoration with the company called Titan Brothers. So when did you start Epoch Environmental?
started Epic about 3 years ago.
Okay.
So I've been in the industry a total, about 5.5 years.
Okay.
But, with the healthcare side of it, I've been in it since like '06.
Okay.
So, for the last 20 years or so, I've been in some form of emergency response or infection control.
Right.
It all kind of relates. And, but, me and my buddy at Titan Brothers, we just tag team a project, in a Waleska last week. And so, we all are a close knit group, in our industry. And,
Yeah.
and some of our networking groups, they talk about collaboration, right, and not viewing everybody as the enemy.
Right.
And I firmly believe in that, because sometimes we all need a little help. And, we were able to kind of bring both of our groups together in a really moldy house that was kind of far away up near Lake Arrowhead and get it done in a day.
Wow.
Because the new owner of this property was highly allergic to mold and had been sick. She had some compromised immune problems. So.
Oh yeah, I've had my experience with mold.
Yep.
I don't know if my son was allergic or if it was just his asthma, but he was a sick baby for months before we got our house taken care of with it. So I definitely know that's nothing to play around with.
Too bad you didn't know me back then.
I know. I actually have a family friend who was like my parents' best friend growing up, is who took care of me with that, because I called her and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but my son is so sick. Please come help me, And so she came over there, and thank goodness she did, because my baby was sick. It was not good.
Yeah, and for people out there who have mold in their properties, I would take it seriously.
Yeah.
There is a difference between mold and mildew, and they're kind of cousins, but they're But if you start looking at all these online ways to do it yourself, you may actually be causing more of a problem.
Yep.
I would say, let a professional come in and take a look at it, and take it from that point, because pulling out some bleach or Clorox and spraying on
does nothing.
It doesn't work. It on a sheetrock, there's texture on a sheetrock, right? There's little holes in it, little divots, and those little microscopic mold spores they'll
get in there.
They'll get in there.
Yep.
And when you spray something wet, the area around that mold spore swells up, and so
now it's stuck.
Now it's stuck. And even though the bleach might discolor it, so you don't think it's there anymore, it's still there, and now you've just fed it water. So don't use bleach on mold.
Yeah, I have to second that myself, because of my experience where I had no kitchen or bathroom for 4 months, and I had to move out of my house. They had taped everything off for the kitchen and bathroom so that it wouldn't be exposed to the rest of my house. Just a few months ago, I was looking to move into this other house. It was bigger. It was going to be way better for me and my son. Well, I've had experience with mold already. So, of course, I had that house inspected before I was going to move into it. What do you know? Mold in both bathrooms, mold in the kitchen. And I told the landlord, I'm like, look, I'm sorry, I can't move in here. You have mold damage. Oh, I'll clean it with bleach. And I said, cleaning it with bleach is not going to fix it. And I know that because my son was very sick with mold. And so, yeah, I have to second, do not clean mold with bleach. It does not work.
That's right.
It makes it worse. It'll make the color go away, but when the color comes back, it's 10 times worse.
Yeah, because you fed it water.
Yep.
Mold likes moisture, and it likes dark. So high humidity is a factor. Sometimes, like a lot of the people that I interact with for this business are real estate professionals. So back before there was such a need for empty properties may sit, for a month or 2 or 3 or whatever it was.
Right.
And so, the electricity would be cut off, and so there'd be no air conditioning. So in that situation, mold can very easily pop up on the walls or the ceilings just topically. Like there's no leak, but it's just because of the high humidity. Mold typically happens at around 60% of humidity or higher. Okay, right now it's probably 50% humidity.
Oh yeah.
Right. But so for those who may think that your property is leaning towards possibly having mold, if you can control the humidity, make sure you don't have any leaks. But there are humidifiers you can put in your dehumidifiers you can put in your property. Some are permanent. Some are things you can rent. Install them, let them do the job. Try to bring your humidity levels down to 35-40%.
Right.
Like in your basements.
Yeah.
Another thing a person can do to prevent is check your gutters. When gutters are full of debris, the water can't go down the downspouts, and so it'll spill over the sides of the gutter.
Wow.
And it'll hit the base of your home, and you'll get erosion and possible moisture intrusion through your foundation.
Oh, man.
So that happens a lot. So, just a little prevention can go a long ways, but we're there to just provide a service and make sure everyone's property is healthy and take care of people.
Well, that's good. I'm glad I love that you help people.
Yeah.
So now let me see. If you weren't doing this, what do you think you would be doing, or what would you want to be doing?
My first instinct was to say be back in healthcare, but I kind of been there and done that. I think I'd like to have a little tiki bar bamboo tiki bar on the beach, maybe Costa Rica.
Oh, yeah?
Mix pina coladas and maybe some nice ceviche for people.
Oh, you just have to let me and Bailey know. We'll come with you. I have bartending experience.
There you go.
I'll be the bartender.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so, well, thank you so much for coming on today. I know you wanted us to bring up your website on here so we can kind of show people a little bit about what you do.
Sure.
So in the meantime, while Bailey gets that pulled up, how do we find you and how can we help you?
So I'm found online at epochodecon.com. That's EPOCHDECON. Okay, .com. And if you want to reach out to me personally, you can text me at 678-548-1153.
Okay.
And I'm based here in Paulding, but I do work all over. So I don't know how far the reach is here with this group, but I do work up past Canton, all the way down into Atlanta.
Okay.
So
a pretty big geographical
pretty
area.
big area.
Okay. And how can we help you? Like, who is somebody you would like for us to get you in front of?
Yeah. So, anybody, I think the lowest hanging fruit for me is probably property professionals.
Okay.
People who are managing properties where, immediate response is needed. Also real estate professionals. Anybody that's, has an interest in keeping their property serviced and, responded to if there are any damages or, issues.
All right. So there's his website there that you guys can see. So go check him out at EPOCHDECON.com. And tell us, for the last thing, tell us what burning the ship has done for you and why our audience should do it too.
Oh, I think it's great. It's great to kind of rehash kind of why you got into the business and how you got into it. It helps you kind of really dig into your core values.
Yeah.
And, the interactivity, the outreach with your community is certainly appreciated. And, it will help me as I get out there and shake a few more hands networking. So, I look forward to any feedback from this.
Awesome.
So I really appreciate the invitation to talk and chat. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Jeff. I appreciate it.